to this breakout session. I'm Charlie Sanderson and I lead AWS's Global Alliance relationship with Murex. I'm joined by Arnaud de Chavannac, Head of Cloud Technology and Services Marketing at Murex, the market-leading provider of front-to-back risk trading software. Today, Arnaud will be talking about why and how Murex developed Mx3 Sas on AWS. Welcome, Arnaud. It's wonderful to have you here.
Thank you, Charlie. It's great to be here.
Arnaud, I know that you and I have discussed this at length. However, it'd be wonderful to hear from you about the trends in capital markets that Murex sees as important and is influencing your approach to development.
As we all know, last year was exceptional in capital markets. We had to cope, among other things, with record trading volatility and record volume of trades. And today, financial institutions active in capital markets are still incredibly busy with some pressing topics. I will describe only three with you. First, on the business side, in order to propose to their customers some attractive yields, financial institutions have developed their activity around autocallables. The autocallable is a very popular financial product built as a complex derivative mixing several asset classes, such as interest rates, FX, or equity to deliver an attractive return for a particular degree of risk. Well, being able to price and process this instrument is critical today for the business. That's for the business. Now, in parallel, market conditions are changing. Take the IBOR reform. It requires all market participants to adopt the new authorized risk-free rates. And with the millions of trades, you better have already started to do the shift for your transactions and to assess what it means, this shift, to your P&L. And finally, that's my third point, there are still many regulations demanding capital market players to better manage their risk. These regulations are well known. It's SACCR, FRTB, and also the exchange of initial margins. All this is keeping busy financial institutions.
Thank you, Arnaud. I'm sure those themes will resonate with our audience. To go deeper, it'd be wonderful to understand how Murex has seen its customers respond to these challenges.
Actually, we see the customers addressing these issues in a number of different ways. But the fundamental question is whether they would like these financial institutions to build themselves the solution they are looking for, or whether they should buy it already built. Because they want to move quickly, they more and more leverage what is already built at the software level and what is already built at the infrastructure level. Actually, it's not a question of whether to build or to buy. The winning approach is rather to buy and then to build.
I'd be really interested to hear about any examples you have.
Let me take back the example of the autocallable product. I shared earlier this example. Well, it means leveraging what is already on the market, leveraging the know-how of a leading platform such as Murex to price and manage the autocaller product.
And why is that?
Because the autocallable business can be very profitable, but it can be as well very risky. So you need the proper platform to run such very particular business. And also you need a highly powerful infrastructure for this activity, such as AWS.
And again, I'm interested in why this is.
Because pricing this product is highly computer intensive, and also with the rising volumes that we have faced on this product, you need an infrastructure that can scale easily.
You make some very good points, and this mirrors what we're hearing and seeing from our customers. Increasingly, we're seeing FSIs seeking to double down on what they do best and wanting to rely on partners such as Murex to focus on what they do best, delivering and managing best-in-class software solutions and enabling them to not just survive, but thrive.
Yes, Charlie, I agree. Let me add still another important key success factor for adopting change and delivering value. And it is actually applicable for any organization involved in the value chain of the capital markets. The best practice today is to adopt agile ways of working. With agile work practices, you can move away from the traditional waterfall approach and organize the delivery cycles in a quicker and iterative manner. And this is actually how we work in our SaaS.
Arno, I know that Murex has been building on AWS since 2017. Can you tell us a bit about the evolution that you've gone through as part of that?
Yes, certainly. Well, when we started to collaborate, we were discovering each other. We were having a lot of questions on your offerings, and your colleagues had a lot of questions on the Mx3 architecture, on our business, etc. And progressively, what we have built, and I believe it's an asset today, a joint access, we have a good understanding of your offerings. Although you are introducing new possibilities very frequently, and the same on our side, you have now a good understanding of our businesses, on the activities that can be managed on Mx.3 and on the technical architecture. So we have built this, and now what is very interesting is that we share ideas. Sometimes you, AWS, can have ideas on how we could better leverage the cloud. And we, on our side, we sometimes even tell you, and why not having this feature on these AWS services that we could use that way, and that could deliver this sort of ease for ourselves in our SaaS, or for our customers that are migrating to your cloud. So that's a very fruitful exchange that we have now, where we exchange ideas. I believe the customers are can get benefits of all these fruitful cooperation.
Yeah, and I think we've seen some interesting things happen recently with AWS developing their Murex ProServe practice.
Absolutely, and this is definitely an area where we cooperate on the field. We have common customers who intend to move their Mx.3 installations onto AWS cloud, and we want this to be done in an efficient and quick manner. And this is where your professional services, with our recommendations, are giving to the customer something which is quite comprehensive, so that they start with the highest possible starting point. Again, they leverage what is already built rather than reinventing everything.
Yes, and increasingly we're also seeing mutual ways to help those customers.
Exact, and we have now some very good examples a bit everywhere in the world and in various segments of the market, be it sell side financial institutions, buy side asset managers who have migrated to AWS and are using Murex, and as well some corporate treasuries who are using Mx3 and now run it on the AWS cloud.
And I guess for the audience who are unaware, Arno, if you'd just allow me, I can give a quick overview of Mx3 Sas. So Mx3 Sas on AWS is Murex's front-to-back risk platform running on AWS and managed by Murex. It's a single tenant and fully managed private SaaS, and this allows unlimited levels of customization. It's also connected to an ecosystem such as the real-time market data sources and customer downstream systems, with the infrastructure underneath being AWS. Arno, can you tell us why you chose to build on AWS?
Certainly. Murex decided to have Mx3 SaaS hosted on AWS for four main reasons. First, we want to provision an infrastructure in a country that can fit to our customer requirements in terms of data storage locations. And we know that with all the AWS data centers, it's easy to comply with this customer requirement. Second, we want to benefit from AWS investments and experience in the security. Third, the scalability of the cloud and its flexibility are key for the capital markets, where conditions are changing all time, every day, non-stop. And finally, and I'm very attached to this one, we have developed with AWS a very close collaboration to help our non-SaaS customers to leverage the benefits of the cloud. And with this concrete experience we have, with helping these already now many customers who have migrated their Mx.3 installations to the cloud, with this experience, we knew what to use on AWS for our SaaS.
I'm sure our audience would be interested to hear some examples of how Murex built Mx3 Sas on AWS.
I'll give you then a few examples. For a mission-critical system, such as Mx.3, the data is of course key. What does it mean from a database point of view? Well, like our customers, we, Murex, we want to focus on what no one can do better than us. And for the database, it means that we don't want to spend time installing, administrating the relational database management system, the RDBMS. And this is why we actually decided to use the AWS Relational Database Service, RDS. It provides us a turnkey service. We don't have almost anything to do. And also because we are looking for the maximum data resiliency, we leverage the Amazon RDS replication feature so that the data is replicated into another availability zone with zero effort on our side. And on top of this, auditors and regulators may require to have access to a copy of the data, that we have in the database, a copy of the data in the past. And for that, we do regular snapshots of RDS, and we keep them with Amazon S3 Glacier, because it's a very cost-effective storage solution. So when we don't have to retrieve often these snapshots, we know they are kept safe with Amazon S3 Glacier, and it's not expensive at all. So that was the first example. Now, another one. Let me explain you how we have used Amazon Lambda to here optimize an integration process. For example, there are certain data, such as the trade execution details, that the customer may want to send us in files. Okay. Well, for this case, we have built an import process using Amazon Lambda that is event-driven. What does it mean? It means that as soon as the file is ready, prepared by the customer with some data, here, trade details, well, with Amazon Lambda, as soon as this file is ready, there is an import driven process which is triggered that will import into Mx.3 the transaction, so that each of these transactions can follow then its STP process. So that's another example of how we have built the Mx.3 SaaS on AWS. And I have a third one that I wanted to share, very important for the security. For the security of Mx.3 SaaS, we deploy first a very strict access to our SaaS using the AWS identity and access management, AWS IAM. Also, inside, within the Mx.3 platform, there is a very granular authorization matrix on the various functions that are available. It means that each user can only do certain things. And this is controlled and checked, of course. Another thing for the security, we are using Amazon Simple Storage S3 with encryption, of course. And one last point, between the customer and the Mx.3 SaaS on AWS, the communication is secured using AWS Direct Connect. So you see, these are just a few examples of the AWS services we have used for our SaaS business.
And I know one of the things our customers and our partners are always interested in is lessons learned. Are you able to tell us a little bit about what Murex did and the lessons you learned during that journey?
Sure. From my point of view, I think the important thing is to start. To build a minimum viable product, an MVP, with a few cloud services. And here, what is interesting is that once you have reached this MVP milestone, actually, you have another vision of your application running on the cloud. And from this position, you start and you can identify these other services available in the wide catalog of AWS services, these other services that could be relevant for your business.
And why are financial institutions more and more willing to go SaaS? What are the drivers and considerations for your customers in adopting Mx3 Sas?
If I want to be very brief, I'll tell you they want a combination of peace of mind and pace of changes. Peace of mind, because financial institutions value the fact that the platform they are using is managed to the best possible standard, since it is managed by the software vendor Murex. Also, they want to operate, without being worried about the technical expertise which is required to run a mission-critical system. That's the peace of mind. Very briefly. Now, pace of changes. Why? Because time to market is vital. Customers, they want the platform to keep up with the frequent changes that I mentioned earlier that are coming from the business, from the regulators, from the technology. Well, Mx.3 SaaS mission is to make all those changes possible.
And who are the financial institutions who are using or willing to use your SaaS solution?
There are two types of financial institutions using the Mx.3 SaaS. The first category is made up new customers. They have decided to adopt Mx.3, but they want to focus only on their core business. They don't intend to dedicate IT resources to administrate the Mx.3 platform. And for these new customers who sometimes don't have large IT departments, selecting Mx.3 SaaS is a very natural choice. And we see this more and more. The second type of financial institutions that are going for Mx.3 SaaS are made up for existing customers who used to administrate and host Mx.3 on their premises with their own forces. And more, they are considering to adopt Mx.3 SaaS for the reason I mentioned earlier. They want to focus on their business. And I have a very fresh example in this category of existing customers who have moved to Mx.3 SaaS. It took place just last month. This customer went live on Mx.3 SaaS on AWS after having been used Murex for several years. Using Murex and administrated themselves the system.
And how do you handle customer requirements?
Onboarding a customer on Mx.3 means configuring the platform so that the platform addresses the customer business requirements and preferences. There are hundreds, thousands of such preferences and requirements. I'll select just one example out of so many others. The interest rate curves are fully customizable. Why? Because this is one of the domains where the customers are actually differentiating themselves from their competitors. So they want to configure the interest rate module the way they want, which is singular. At the end, once implemented, each Mx.3 installation is unique, is tailored for the customer requirements. Also, when we onboard a new customer, we work in a continuous integration mode. It means that we consider infrastructure as code, configuration as code, and test as code. And with this way of working, our innovations are delivered with high frequency, speed, and quality. Actually, this is how we work with our SaaS. And when running on the AWS infrastructure, we know at any point in time that we will never wait for having delivered and set up a particular capacity, infrastructure, hardware or software that we need for Mx.3.
And Arno, what's coming next?
I can give you two illustrations where we are currently developing new things that will be proposed to customers in the short term and in the medium term. For these purposes, we want to better leverage the cloud elasticity. You know, the computation of the value at risk is at the same time highly computer intensive and very punctual, because you don't calculate the VAR or the FRTB figures all day long. And this is the reason why we are developing a mechanism in which we provision just in time the necessary virtual machines on AWS. Here I have in mind, you know, the Amazon Elastic Compute Cloud, AWS EC2, and we release these instances after having provisioned them just in time. We release them as soon as the calculation is finished. So you see that this sort of setup can provide cost savings, and also it can allow to finish the calculation earlier, since you are able to use a bigger number of machines or more powerful machines in a very cost-effective manner. And it can also allow to launch on-demand stress testing. It can be useful. Imagine there is a sudden high volatility on the markets, and the risk manager wants to see what is the impact of this increased volatility on the P&L. Well, he could launch this on-demand stress testing, and knowing that the necessary infrastructure will be provisioned exactly when needed.
And Arno, I guess that was for the short and medium term. What about your vision for the future?
Beyond infrastructure as a service, software as a service, the new frontier is business process as a service. Our vision here is to allow our customers to get the most complex risk outputs delivered with a minimum work and investment on their side. So that's what we are currently developing. It's a cloud-native risk service on AWS. And with this new service, our customers will afford to get some risk figures on their trading activity, although there is a huge infrastructure required to do such very complex computation. So for the moment, we are in the early adopter phase of this new offering. But if you invite me again in your next symposium, I'll be very happy to tell you more about that.
Thank you, Arno. So I guess thank you very much for taking the time to come here today and talk to us about your experience of building Mx3 Sas on AWS. And we look forward to hearing more from you around the future.